City of stars, are you shining just for me?
Oh, what are you singing? I really like it.
Oh, yeah, it's a really good song. It's from La La Land. It's called City of Stars.
Oh, I've heard that's a good movie.
Oh, it's really, really good. It won like 7 Academy Awards or something.
Wow.
Yeah. Like one of them was like Best Picture. It won Best Actress for Emma Stone. It did really well.
I don't think it won Best Picture that year.
I'm pretty sure it did, actually.
All right. Well, hold on. Just let me look it up real quick. Here I'm on the IMDb side.
You're going to find that it said La La Land won Best Picture.
I'm pretty sure it didn't.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Okay, let's just see here. It says Moonlight won. Oh, that's a great movie.
What is Moonlight?
Oh, it's a movie about a little boy who is struggling with his sexuality while growing up in a very economically depressed neighborhood of Miami.
And this came out the same year?
Yeah, it came out the same year, and it won according to IMDb.
I don't believe that.
Look at
it. When I watched the award show, it said La La Land won.
Yeah, there was a big mix-up at the award show. There was a lot of egg on a lot of people's face.
Oh, well, I've never seen Moonlight, so.
You haven't seen it?
You haven't seen it.
No way. You're out of order.
Ah, you're killing me, Smalls.
Fasten your seatbelts.
You're tearing me apart.
Houston, we have a problem.
What we've got here is failure.
Inconceivable. God damn you all to hell.
Welcome to
You haven't seen it?
The podcast where I force my wife to watch movies she never cared to see. I'm your host, Joey.
And I'm his wife and co-host, Erin, the wife who doesn't care to see these movies.
Yes, that's correct. How you doing today, Erin?
I'm doing pretty darn well.
Pretty darn well. We talk to each other like we haven't seen each other all day.
We've been together literally this whole weekend.
Yeah, we woke up together. We went shopping for groceries. We
had ice cream.
We had ice cream at the famous Amy's Ice Cream.
And then we went to the park. Yeah, we had a nice long day today. So, Joey, what movie are we talking about today?
We are going to be talking about the 2016 Academy Award-winning film Moonlight.
Okay, what's the deal with Moonlight? I feel like we're very off today.
It is directed by Barry Jenkins, story by Terrell Alvin McCraney, and it stars Trevante Rhodes, Andre Holland, Janelle Monáe, Ashton Saunders, Jarrell Jerome, Naomi Harris, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but I'm sorry, Mahershala Ali, who won Best Supporting Actor for this movie. So, Erin, did you know anything about this movie before we watched it?
So actually, when we first started watching this, I thought I didn't know anything about this movie. But as we watched it, I was like, wait, I've seen parts of this movie. You can't watch this movie and not recognize those parts. I remember the kid in the ocean, and I remember at the end, well, I don't remember the very ending part, but like the very, very end after him and Kevin, I remember like the little boy back at the ocean, and I remember him going to a cafe.
Wow, that's weird.
I think I came in to the living room while you were watching it one day, and I was just sitting on the couch on my phone or something.
Okay, because I was, I didn't see this. No, I did see this the year it came out, and we were together at that point. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I was thinking yesterday that I had seen this movie before we even started dating.
What year did it come out?
It came out in 2016. That was the year we got married.
Of course we were together.
Yeah, so we were definitely together. But I saw it because of the controversy at the Oscars that year. And I was like, I want to see this movie. And it definitely deserves to be Best Picture, in my opinion.
It was a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it really was.
Watching this movie, literally one of my notes was, this is such a beautiful movie, and it's so beautifully shot.
Yeah, it's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted, directed.
It's very artistic.
Yeah, from top to bottom. And I looked up, the budget was like just over $1 million. Like
Okay.
they had no money to make this movie, and they made something absolutely beautiful. They had the actor who played the mom, the crack addicted mom, she only was on set for 3 days.
Whoa.
That was it, because she's British and her visa was going to be up or something. And she had some other movie, big budget movie that she had to shoot. But she does an amazing job for someone who's only there for 3 days.
And you can see her transition too. That's crazy.
Yeah. All the actors had to share one trailer and one bathroom on set. So this was a real labor of love. And the director, Barry Jenkins, and I think Terrell Alvin McCraney, I think a lot of this is based on their life, because they grew up in the Liberty City housing projects where this was shot. So that's why a lot of the...
That's in Florida, right?
Yes, that's in Miami, Florida. You can definitely tell it's southern Florida. It's very easy to tell that if you've ever been there. But I totally lost my train of thought. So that's why the exteriors of it feel so real, because it is. It's 100% where the story took place. So
Mm-hmm.
did you know what it was about?
No, I didn't really know what it was about. I just saw those 3 little snippets of the kid in the ocean, and then when he's an adult and he goes to the diner. And I think I remember a little bit of when he was in the high school, but not much.
Okay.
So I've half seen this.
Yeah, I've seen this, but I don't remember a lot of it. I remember the main beats of it, but I kind of forgot that they even showed him as a teenager. That whole middle story did not remain in my brain. And I think that was my favorite part of it, now that I've seen it a second time.
Yeah, it's a good part.
Yeah.
It really shows him coming into his own. Like when he's a younger kid, like he's still like doesn't understand the world and doesn't understand everything going on. But then when he becomes a teenager, he's like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
This is what I have to do.
Yeah, I see him in that part. He's really struggling, because this is when, a lot of gay people are going to be coming out of the closet, is around high school. Like you're really starting to figure out who you are around that age and what you're attracted to. And I think by the end of it, when they're putting him in the cop car, to me, it was like, okay, he chose to not be who he is in that moment and create a different persona around him of like a troubled kid who gets arrested, and he's basically just hiding. I felt very bad at the end of that act of it. Like he's going into a descent in a way. And what did you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of different thoughts. Do we want to get into the movie so that we can talk about it?
No, we can just talk about it in the abstract. Like, just what did you like about it? What are some things that you just want to talk about right up front?
Well, I definitely, the artistic choices that they made through this movie, even with having the little title cards of like 1 little, 2 Chiron, and 3 black.
Right.
Having those to transition, it shows his transition into when he was younger. He was little because he had to hide himself a lot. When he goes into Chiron, he discovers himself.
Right.
And then after he gets beat up by Kevin, he kind of reverts back to like having to hide again.
Yeah.
Because he goes to juvie and then prison, I guess.
I don't remember.
I think he said I know he goes to juvie, but I don't remember what happens right after that. It doesn't really go into much detail, but he goes into juvie and he becomes black. which is another way of him hiding. Even in like when he is black, there's this moment where he picks someone up and he's like, they're like talking about girls and he's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's
But
like, oh, you know where the hoes are at, and you can see him sort of panic in that moment, and then be like, well, you tell me. Yeah, I like that part.
Yeah. The acting in this is phenomenal. And also the casting, like the casting for like kid version of these guys all the way into their adulthood. It's pretty, like they look very like they look very well transitioned, especially Little and Chiron.
Yes.
That transition, I was like, that looks like that kid grew up. Like they did a really, really good job in casting this show.
Did you watch Boyhood with me?
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think about that when they went to Chiron. I was like, did they wait 10 years?
I don't know, because there's different kids for
yeah, I
different
know.
ages,
I'm joking, but it did make me think of that.
Yeah.
Because Boyhood was shot chronologically, like over 10 years, so you could watch the boy grow up. Anyway,
it was shot on my university campus, or our university campus.
It was shot in a lot of places. Some of it was shot at Minute Maid Park here in Houston. But yeah, just watching this transition of him being three different people at three different times. And I'm just going to say his last name, but Ali, the guy who plays Juan, is kind of his father figure.
Yes.
And he's such a flawed father figure because he's a drug dealer. But he's also a very good person, which is a really cool character paradox that I like, that I don't feel like I've seen before. And
it's definitely not common.
No, it's definitely not common. But he is only on screen for 20 minutes of the movie, and he won Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was quite good, and
he's very convincing as like this caring guy.
Yes.
Yes, he's a drug dealer, but that's what he has to. That's what he does to get by. Like he has to do it.
Yeah.
Or he feels like he has to.
Yeah, and maybe he doesn't have any other skills. You know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it. Like I feel like a lot of people that I don't want to like generalize, but I think that people that do get into like dealing drugs do feel like that's the only avenue they have. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like they don't want to be poor, but also they don't have any other sort of skill or opportunities that they can rely on. Yeah. Yeah. And so I definitely think that he was the drug dealer with a heart of gold, and even his wife, Teresa, whenever I was watching this, I was like, I know that actress from somewhere. I just couldn't put my finger on it. But she's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah, she's the British No, wait. No, sorry. I don't know who she is. I can look up her name real quick. But she was good too. She's another one of the very good actors in this. Janelle Monáe as Teresa. Yeah, she was really great in that role. I think this movie was very well cast. And not only what I was very surprised by was how well they transitioned the features of the kids into the older versions. But like they were all still good actors. Yes. Because like that can be difficult. Like, okay, yes, this little kid is a phenomenal actor, but do we have someone that looks like him that can be playing an older version of him? Yeah, that's also why I say the directing is so good in this, because when you're dealing with child actors, you have to get them into a place where they believe they are that person, because they're just straight up not old enough and don't have enough experience to know how to do it on their own. So it takes really good directing to get child actors into a great performance. And who plays the teenage one, he could have been well into his 20s. Yeah. By that time. But yeah, fantastic acting across the board. But I want to talk more about Juan as a father figure, because they don't show most of their relationship. They show that he died by the time Sharon is in high school. So, and the last we see of them together is when he tells Little
that he's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
He asks him straight up, "Are you a drug dealer? And do you deal drugs to my mom?" And he just doesn't say anything, and he just walks away.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that huge gap in their relationship that really makes you go like, what really happened? Because they never say it. Like, I don't know if he was all that good of a mentor to Sharon. They show him being like Sharon after a while does find out that like he can confide in him, and he's the only person who emotionally supports him, because you can tell the way that Teresa and Juan speak to him when he's at their house, and they're very delicate, and they listen to him, and they answer his questions honestly.
Yeah, there was even that moment whenever he goes to ask all those questions, and he asks what, I'm not going to say the word, but the F word is. And
it's the pejorative for gay men.
And the Juan starts saying like, well, that's what people call gay people to make them feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, and then Chiron goes, am I that? And he goes, well, you don't have to decide right now. And then he started to say, he was about to say something like, and like, you won't be that F word unless you, and Teresa looks at him and goes, don't say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, you could tell that like they, especially Teresa, is very protective of him.
Yes.
And Teresa is a very good mother figure. Yes.
And, a lot of this movie, people see it, the obvious part, which is like, it's about LGBT issues, and it's about people like Black people who live in the projects and low income. But also for me, it's a lot about what it is like becoming a man and the weird tightrope that you have to walk growing up. Mm-hmm. Of like, you want to be who you are, but also that you are so heavily influenced and literally bullied to being what your society and the people that you're around think is a man.
Yeah.
So I thought about that a lot in this movie, in my experience growing up, even though it's nowhere close to what this kid had to deal with. But, and I think, you have some people in your life who probably had similar situations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not from a big city. I'm not from a big city.
And this doesn't have, what I'm saying has nothing to do with cities or projects or anything. It's about gender roles in our society.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I was about to say was like, I grew up in a rural town. And so that idea of like, homosexuality is like very looked down upon. I have a sibling who is gay, and he doesn't even like to go pump gas in my hometown because people are so like, people will just yell at him, and it's like, you don't even know him, and they'll yell profanity at him and all these things. It's like, they didn't do anything to you. But I understand, like, I had brothers. I have 4 brothers. I grew up with boys. And so I definitely see, I saw that from a second hand of those like masculine roles forced on people, whether they fit in them or not. And then people having to put on a mask to pretend to be that masculine person.
Yes. This movie has a lot to do with like wearing a mask and hiding and isolating yourself. And that's something I know a lot about. And I think any man watching this movie can relate to those aspects of that film.
Yeah. Also, growing up in that small town, there's not a lot of wealthy people there. And so what I was going to say also about me coming from a small town is I can relate to low income. Like if it wasn't me that was dealing with it, because I mean, my family did have money issues growing up.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I wasn't completely, I mean, we were able to afford food. I mean, but there were times where we were on food stamps or, thankfully my parents never did drugs or anything like that. So I didn't have to deal with that and our money going somewhere else. But I did have family members who went through that. I have family members in that town that I'm from. There's tons of people there that are doing heroin and cocaine and all kinds of different drugs, because there's nothing else to do there.
Yeah, and also this movie, it takes place during the crack epidemic of the 80s and early 90s. But if you go to these small towns, it's full of crack use.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like I completely understand like going through that, or like, because I mean, I didn't personally experience all of that, but I've seen secondhand what that does to your family situation. I've had relatives that are in really bad situations.
Yeah.
And like whenever little Chiron was going to take a bath and he had to boil water, and I was like, I get that. We've had to do that several times, because also in a small town, like sometimes your water doesn't work, so you have to go out to the well and scoop water out. Like I understand the difficulties of living in poverty.
Right, yeah. And then also you just watch how normalized it is for him as a kid.
Yeah.
Like he just boils that pot of water and goes and dumps it. He's not thinking to himself like, oh, the water heater is broken again. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is my everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think covered the abstract of the movie. Do you want to get in scene by scene here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, I had a question about this first song. Is that a real song?
What song?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to sing it because it has the N word in it. Which not a funny thing. A good learning a moment. We started playing the movie, and our daughter was in the living room, and she heard the first song, and she was reading the subtitles. And in the song, there's the N word in it, and she said it. She didn't know it. She's never heard that word. We never say that word.
Yeah,
we're not around people that say that word, and so it was a good learning moment for her to be like in our own home, like say, hey, that's not an okay thing to say. We don't say that word. We can't say it. We might hear other people say it, but we personally do not say that word. And she was like, okay. So that was a good learning.
Yeah, and we explained to her where it came from and what it means and who it's most hurtful towards. Yeah. So
a little history lesson for her. She's only 6, so
no, she's 7.
She's 7. Oh my God.
Soon to be 8. She's gonna be 8 in a few months too.
She's 8, almost 8. Oh my God.
So the first song, like when he pulls up in his car, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't remember. It's all N-words or stars or something like that.
Oh. No, I'm pretty sure it's a real song. It's probably like some regional rap.
That's what I was wondering. It was like, is this like their area kind of like, because like, you know, like there's artists from Houston.
Oh yeah, Houston
that like are like Houston artists, and they start here, and people here initially know about them, but they don't. Once they get bigger, like then more people know.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of regional rappers here that aren't like on a big stage, and they're not mainstream that they don't know about. Like Houston has a lot of that going on.
And I was just wondering if this was the same kind of situation.
Yeah, I believe it was, but I can't say for sure. I don't listen to rap or hip hop. When I was living in other states, people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, hey, you know Thug C?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "He's a rapper from Houston." I'm like, "Oh, you know, I don't know every person who's from Houston, right?" But I would get that a lot. I remember one time I did know who it was, that somebody comes up to me. He was from LA, and he goes, "Oh, you know SPM?" I was like, SPM? Oh, South Park Mexican? Yeah, I actually do know him.
You know him?
Not personally.
Oh.
I just heard of him.
Oh.
And then one of my friends' older brother was in county jail with him at one point. I don't know. That could be a lie. I don't know. All right. So he pulls up in his car. Oh, also something I like about this movie is all the long cars. Did you see how long all the cars were? I love those long old Chevys and Oldsmobiles.
Yeah.
So he pulls up in a car in front of a small apartment complex. And he goes, and this is Juan. He goes to speak to a guy, and this is, you kind of figure out that he is a kind of
he's like the head of a drug ring.
I wouldn't say he's the head of it, but he's definitely not like a street dealer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy who goes to the street dealers to collect. Mm-hmm. And then he probably takes the money to whoever the head of that ring is or whatever.
Yeah.
But they show him being a nice guy right off. Like they show him talking to the guy and ask him like, how you doing? How are things going?
And you can tell him like immediately, yeah, he's a drug dealer, but he's like there's drug dealers that are great guys. Like, that's not a...
Yeah. Being a drug dealer doesn't mean you have to be mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
this is
bad.
This is his save the cat moment. This is his save the cat moment.
Yeah,
it shows
definitely.
him being a nice person in a place where no one expects you to be a nice person. He doesn't have to do that. He does it because he wants to. So then we cut to Chiron is being chased into an apartment complex.
And these little boys are calling him the F word and chasing him, and he runs into this little this abandoned apartment that's open, and the boys are like banging on the door trying to get into him to, I guess, beat him up, and then he waits in there until they finally go away. And then someone comes up to the front and like starts beating on the door, and he's like, "Oh shit, they're still here," because he thought they were gone. And Juan comes in through the window.
Yeah, he has to like push down like some plywood or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Chiron is obviously very afraid of him. He's very
timid.
Yeah, he's very timid because he doesn't trust anybody because he can't even trust his own mother.
Yeah.
And he talks to him, and he tries to get him to talk.
Juan talks to Chiron, but Chiron won't talk to him.
Right.
He's very quiet to himself because I think he's so scared. He doesn't know what to say.
Yeah. Because also, when you grow up in an area like that, if a grown man is nice to you, he probably is trying to take advantage of you in some way, you know? Or there's a possibility that he might try to do something. But he says, all right, well, I'm going to go, but I'm going to go through the front door. Mm-hmm. And then he asks him if he wants to go get something to eat. So then they cut to the diner, and the kid's chowing down on some breakfast food, and he still can't get anything out of him.
Yeah. No matter what Juan tries to do, like the kid's not talking. And so he's like, okay, well, I'm going to take you to my girl, and she's going to make you talk. And so he pulls up to his house. His Teresa comes out, and then she sits in the car with him, and he doesn't talk to her either at first.
Yeah, he doesn't want to speak. Like, I think the first thing that he says is that he doesn't want to go home, or can he stay there that night? Well,
so they get him inside, and then I love that line Juan said of the boy don't talk much, but he can eat, because he's like eaten twice.
Yeah, he's eating again.
Yeah, and so he's eating, and he finally says like his name is Chiron, but people call him Little. And then he says, Juan's like, okay, well, where do you live so we can take you home? And he just goes, no.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He just says straight up no. I'm not going to tell you. He doesn't say I'm not going to tell you. He just says no.
But then they say you can stay here tonight, but tomorrow we have to take you back.
Yeah. So in the morning, he takes him to Chiron's house, and his mom is walking up, and she looks like she's in scrubs.
Yeah. At this point, she looks like she has a job, and she's somewhat put together.
Mm-hmm. So she like pulls him inside, and she's very rude to Juan. Which initially I was like, what's going on with this lady? She's just like some bitch. And then also I told you to pause it because I was like, okay, I think Chiron hates living at home, and Juan is going to figure out how to get custody. Did not turn out that way.
No. This is not an easy movie to predict if you don't know anything about it. It has it's really, it doesn't have your typical 3-act structure, even though it is in 3 acts. They're each kind of their own individual story.
Yeah.
Which is really neat. And I like that you don't get exhausted before each one ends.
Mm-hmm. But I wrote the note, like, Chiron's mom has issues, but I don't know what. And then it cuts to these boys in a field, and Chiron.
Well, no. First, his mom revokes his TV privileges as punishment, but he doesn't really seem to mind all that much. And she doesn't really yell at him or get too mad at him. She's just like, you have to come home when you need to come home.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, is reasonable.
Yeah, which is totally normal. Like, at this point, you're thinking to yourself, like, yeah, she looks like a reasonable parent. Why doesn't he want to go home? You're still kind of confused as to why he doesn't want to go home. Although you might be like, nah, I kind of think I know.
I didn't know at this point. Like, I was like, what's going on with this lady? I knew there was some issue. I just didn't know what. I was thinking, like, oh, what, she knows Juan deals drugs. And
Oh yeah, they definitely set up that there's something going on with her because she's rude to a man who took care of her son.
Yeah.
And made sure that he wasn't sleeping on the streets that night or something. So yeah, you can tell that there's something going on. You just can't quite put your finger on it just yet.
Yeah. Also, whenever he first comes in, she was like, I was so worried about you can't do that to me. And I was like, you didn't call the cops?
Mm-hmm.
But granted, also, I do feel like people probably, wouldn't have wanted to call the cops.
No, if people who live in that neighborhood aren't going to call the cops because the cops will come out for a missing person thing and then arrest them for
something else, yeah.
Because they found crack or something.
Yeah. When initially I thought that, I was like, why didn't you just call the cops? And I was like, oh, wait, I get it.
We didn't live. Do you remember that first apartment we lived in together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, those people would not call the cops for anything.
True.
Bunch of immigrants, they would not call the cops. So then he goes to the field with his friends, and they're like playing like kind of a roughhouse game.
Yeah, they were kicking around a newspaper ball.
That's right. Yeah, it was a newspaper ball. But I remember in elementary school a lot, like playing games like this, where the whole point of it was just to rough each other up, essentially. I think we made up one called Energizer Bunny, where the point is for one person who's the Energizer Bunny is supposed to run and trip you and make you fall on the ground. There's no way to win the game either. But that reminded me of that, made me think of that. And also, it shows you a little bit. It's like, yeah, you know what? This might be an economically depressed neighborhood, but these kids have fun. They're having somewhat of a normal childhood.
Yeah.
I think that's what part of that was supposed to illustrate.
Yeah, and they really captured it well, because I made the note of like they were kicking around a water newspaper, and then the way that, well, him and Kevin have this like kind of moment of like they just like talk for a minute, and he's like, and Kevin's like, hey, like you gotta show them that you're not gonna take it. Like you gotta stand up for yourself. And he says, okay, well, let's fight so that they see that you can stand up for yourself.
Yeah, he's saying that you gotta prove that you can't just be tough on the inside. You have to show it on the outside so people know not to mess with you.
Yeah, you got to put on that mask, even though you don't want to, but you have to. So he like, they rough each other up. And then the way that after they finished, like you could tell that there was something there. But I didn't know what initially. Like at that moment, I was like, there's something there, but I just don't know what yet. And then the way they ran out, like they were just like walking and then just started running. I was like, they captured like childhood really well in that scene.
Uh-huh. And they set up Kevin as more of a more social kid who, he can get along with his peers a lot easier. because he's
because
chatty.
it doesn't look so scrawny.
Right, yeah, but also he's chatty and he knows how to talk to people. He has more lines of dialogue than anybody else in the film.
Really?
Yeah, you can just tell because he's always talking and he knows how to talk to people. And he sort of, I mean, he's obviously Chiron's only friend. And you find out later it's probably because they kind of share this one thing.
Yeah.
You know? And they can see it in each other. You know, it's that typical thing, like we can recognize our own.
Yeah.
Right.
So then Chiron goes home and his mom is with his mom opens the door and she's like, "What are you doing here? You should be out." And so she goes into the table and like grabs something off the table, and this guy she's with is like, "Oh," and he's
Right.
like all grumpy and everything. And then at that moment, I was like, "Oh, does the mom do drugs?" That's when I was like, "Oh, she probably does drugs, but like down low." Because initially she was working.
Yeah, it's they definitely show her descent as her drug addiction gets worse.
Yeah.
And this is just a part of it. She's at home smoking crack with some guy and her son comes home. So she gets mad at him and tries to hide it. And even the guy tries to be nice to him, but she's like, "No, come on, don't talk to him."
Yeah.
And then later, we're back with Juan at the same apartment complex where he's selling drugs, and they see people smoking nearby.
Yeah. And initially he was like, "Do you let people basin? You're letting people basin around here?" Or
Yeah.
something. And I was like, "What is basin?" And I figured it was lighting up.
Yeah, because one of the terms that they use for smoking crack is freebase.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so just short for that, basing. Or are you letting people base over here? But it turns out it's Chiron's mother.
Yeah, with the same guy.
With the same guy. And so they get into it. And he's like, he tries to tell him, like, tries to tell her mom, you should need to be, like, taking care of your son and all this. And she's like, "Well, are you just going to keep selling me crack?"
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this weird standoff between them to where it's like, well, is either going to be good for this kid? And you can really see it land on Juan's face that he's like, "Yeah, I guess I'm not a good role model."
I mean, in that moment, I think like, I do. Yeah. Juan is like, "Well, shit, like I'm not a good role model," but also he's trying.
Yes.
And so it's in that moment, you like hope for Juan so much, like maybe turn it around or something. Maybe just stop selling to her, or I don't know. Like there was just like you just hope for something to happen, even
That's
though it
what
doesn't.
that's what you were thinking in that moment. Yeah, I was too. You want him to turn it around and be a father to that kid, but then also at the same time, it's like it's not really his father.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really powerful moment. And then she also says, like, "Are you gonna tell him what he is?" Because she knows that he's gay, and you see the look on his face again. It's like, what am I supposed to do about that?
Yeah. And then later on in that next scene is when Chiron comes in and starts asking questions about, like, what is the F word? Am I gay? He asks, "Are you like, does my mama do drugs?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you sell drugs?" And he goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then Chiron walks out.
Yeah. And also I want to, before that, there's a part where he's in the apartment with his mother and there's no audio.
Yeah.
It's just
she's
in
just
silence.
screaming.
And there's, it looks jarring because they cranked up the frame rate of the camera to 48 frames a second, which is twice the frame rate that you would normally shoot a movie at, 24 frames a second. So it has a weird, intense look to it. And she screams something at him. And then the next scene where he asks Juan what faggot is. And you assume that's what his mother screamed at him. So that was a pretty crazy moment.
It's not what she screamed at him.
What is it?
I don't remember what it was, but it plays the audio later after he's a teenager.
It does?
Yeah, it says the audio. and it's like, I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was something to the effect of like get out, like get out of the house or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's something. It does the audio, because I remember before that happens, it started flashing blue, and I was like, why is it flashing blue? Like there was a single light, and I was like, oh, is it like police? Or maybe it was red.
No, that was the clapboard that they used.
I don't know what that means.
They were covering the camera lens with, the clapboard that they do the audio. And because they were spraying people with oil to make them look sweaty, and they didn't want it to get on the camera lens. So they covered it up with the clapboard. And those are the lights from the little digital lights on the clapboard. And the director liked it, and he wanted to use those shots.
Oh, well, initially, like there's that flash of red, and then it shows his mom inaudibly screaming. And then at the end of Chiron, after he like hits the kid with the chair, it goes back, but it's the other color. It's like blue, and it does the flashing, and then it plays her part again, and it has the audio.
Oh, okay. I guess because he asked about it, the F word. I'm going to call it the F word. As dumb as that sounds. But I assumed maybe that's what she said to him.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the end of the first act. And he just leaves, and it jumps forward many years, and you don't know what went on with anything.
Yeah.
We just have to check back in on him. And I think that's something that's really powerful about this movie and good, is like they just sort of let you decide. Mm-hmm. Like so many movies like this wouldn't be able to resist being like, oh, this is what happened in the years in between that, even showing like a montage of them growing up or moving multiple places. But like that's a big choice to make. Just skip ahead 10 years? Mm-hmm. 8 to 10 years or something like that.
Yeah. So it jumps forward to Chiron, and his mom has gotten. I didn't realize this in that moment, but I just read something on this page that you're on that like his mom turns to prostitution, and I didn't realize it. I thought people were just joking about like his mom because she was in a bad state. I didn't realize that she was actually prostituting.
Yeah, when he comes home and she's like, "Oh no, you can't be here tonight." Like that's when I knew that she's seeing men for money.
I thought she was just like, "We're going to be doing drugs. Like you can't be here."
No, well, I mean that's part of it, but yeah, it was because it's hard.
Oblivious, sorry.
No, but that's what's good about this movie is it's not
on the nose.
Yeah, it's not so on the nose. I love how little dialogue there is in this movie, and that they convey this pretty complicated story without people telling you every 10 minutes what exactly is happening.
Yeah. So you see Chiron leave to go to Teresa's house because that's the only other place he can go.
Right.
And you're like, wait, where's Juan? And then you realize that he's dead. I don't remember what happened to tell us that he was dead, but someone said he's dead. Because I initially wrote, "Where is Juan?" And then it was answered like a couple minutes later. And he's dead. Yeah.
Well, she refers to him in past tense.
Yeah.
And then later somebody mentions his funeral.
Yeah.
So that's
he was like, someone was like, she hasn't been right since his funeral. I think it was Kevin.
Yeah. I think it was Kevin.
Because the next day he goes back. Well, he's like spends the night at Teresa's, and then he goes home. I'm guessing to change, and she's like, his mom was like, "You should be at school. Why are you here? You shouldn't be here. You need to go to school." And she was like locked out of her house, but she wasn't actually locked out. So she you can tell she's like cracked out, doped out.
Sure, why not?
she's high.
Yeah. She's definitely using
not cognitively there right now.
Yeah, and is that the part where she asks him for money too?
Yeah, and she says, "Give me the money Teresa gave you," and he's like, "I don't have any money," and like it's just like, oh, God. Thinking about that, like what would I do if my mom was yelling at me for money that I got just so that I could freaking have lunch that day?
Yeah, and it's the only parent you have, and what little father figure you had in a drug dealer is now dead, and his wife will let you sleep over at her house when you don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
Like, this kid's life is bleak, and it's hitting you really hard at this moment that his mother is stealing his lunch money to get drugs. He has one friend at school, and he's bullied at school.
Yeah, he's dealing with a lot of bullying at school. And they're constantly calling him gay and the F word and all of this stuff.
And threatening violence on him.
Yeah, threatening him. That one guy comes up to him and is like, meet me outside after school. Or like, I'm going to catch you outside. And so
Cash me outside. How about that?
Okay. So he goes up to the stairwell and he sees them waiting for him. And that's where he sees Kevin, and Kevin starts talking about like doing some girl, and he got caught and he had detention or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy, he's a real character in Kevin at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, like, he's talking a lot. You see, I don't know why they made the choice for him to have so many more lines than everybody else, but he's sort of like a star in this situation where he stands out among all these people for some reason or another. But you can see that they're still friends, even from their childhood. They may not hang out that much, but they are definitely cordial and friendly with each other.
Yeah. Also, I think the stairwell happened before he stays at Teresa's house, because when he's at Teresa's house, he has a wet dream about Kevin having sex on the beach with that girl.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that in that moment, you're like, yeah, he's totally gay.
Yeah, and that's at which point. No, that's before they have the sexual encounter on the beach.
Yeah, because then later on that night, when his mom still stole his money that morning, and so he just didn't go home after. He got on a train and some type of transit system and like went to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sits on the beach, and then Kevin walks up and he's like, what are you doing here? And then they start talking about like the feeling of being out on like the breeze and how it like makes them feel like they have emotions.
Oh yeah. Oh, one thing we
They let the
skipped
mask
over,
fall.
a big plot point we skipped over, is Juan teaches him how to swim.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
beach is very iconic in this movie.
The beach for him is like his
Getaway.
It's his getaway. It's his fortress of solitude. It's the place where he feels safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I also read online that the kid, in that moment, they were filming a kid learning how to swim. That kid did not know how to learn how to swim.
Hmm.
Yeah, and this is also
Did
another.
he learn?
Yeah, this is also another important thing, because a lot of kids who grow up in neighborhoods like this, there's no neighborhood pool, so a lot of them don't know how to swim.
Yeah, there's also that stereotype that black people don't know how to swim.
Yeah, but it's because they don't have the opportunity to
Yes,
learn.
exactly.
What a terrible stereotype.
I know.
But I grew up in a neighborhood with 2 pools. I didn't take swimming lessons. I just went to the pool, and I would go from the shallow end to the deep end, and I eventually learned how to swim.
Yeah.
So, these kids in this neighborhood, they're not going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the ocean is too scary to swim in.
Oh my God. Yeah.
If you don't know how to swim. So back to
the beach.
yes,
Scene.
and they're talking, and Chiron is really being much more open than we've seen him be.
Yes.
Earlier, he talks about how he cries all the time.
Yeah, and he's actually talking.
Yeah, and they're getting into like their feelings and like their emotionality,
Mm-hmm.
and you haven't seen him open up to anybody this way.
Yeah, and then they lean in and they kiss, and Kevin touches him.
He gives him a hand job.
Yeah, he does. He gives him a handy.
Yes. And what did the subtitle say? It was.
Oh, I wrote it down. The subtitles for this scene said "soft orgasmic grunting," which I think is accurate. But it was funny. moment.
Yeah.
Reading those subtitles.
So the part after this is a little scene that I really enjoyed. They're in the car. Kevin has a car and he drives Chiron home.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the quietest Kevin's ever been in the movie. When he's on screen, he's always talking. So I want to ask you, do you think it was an uncomfortable silence or a comfortable silence?
Comfortable silence.
You really
Absolutely, yeah. Like there was like a mutual, like, hey, like this happened. We can't really talk about it, but I enjoyed it.
I think they don't know how to talk about it.
Oh,
That's what I think. But yeah, at first I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable. But when he got out of the car and they're like shaking hands and saying goodbye, I was like, you know what? It was like that's comfortable silence that you share with somebody who you're really close to.
well, I mean, he shook his hand with the hand that he used.
Yeah.
And like you could tell it was like, hey, like I enjoyed this, but we can't talk about this. Like it was like a mutual, like, hey.
Yeah. And that's what at that point I was like, oh no, it was more of a comfortable silence than an uncomfortable silence. So
I think you were just uncomfortable by it.
Maybe I was. I'm not going to deny it. Movies make you feel something.
Yeah.
I think movies are one of the most powerful artistic mediums there is because it can put you in the shoes of somebody without you even knowing so easily.
Yeah.
Like,
Drama does that.
Yeah, drama does that. I guess theater, I guess I would put it in the same way, but like people can process it very intuitively. Whereas like you go to an art show and you see all these art pieces, like if you're not someone who's art savvy, it's kind of hard for it to move you.
Yeah.
And I think film is really good at that.
It's very accessible for everyone.
Yeah. It puts you right in these people's shoes. So anyway, the next day they're at school and the bully comes up to
Kevin is like, hey, remember that game we used to play where you had to beat someone up?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to play that again.
They're going to play Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
No, a much meaner where someone picks someone out of the crowd and you have to beat them up, whether you have beef with them or not.
Yeah.
So who do you think he's going to choose? He's obviously going to choose Chiron.
Yeah. So it's after school. He walks out and he says, okay, beat Chiron up, like hit him in the face. And so he punches him and he knocks him over a little bit. He doesn't fall down. And then he goes, okay, now do it again. And so he's like, Kevin's like looking at Chiron like, please, like, I don't want to do this. And he punches him again and he knocks him all the way down. And Kevin's like, don't get up, because I'll have to do it again. And Chiron stands up and he's like, why are you doing, like, you could tell, like, he's like, why are you doing this to me? Are you trying to prove something?
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, well, I'm going to prove too.
Well, I do think this was, I don't know how to explain it, what Chiron was doing it, but he knew the score and he knew that Kevin didn't want to do it. But it was almost like he's saying, like, I'm going to show you how tough I am and I'm going to protect us. Mm-hmm. Because if people find out about us, like, our lives are over.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me.
I also felt like he was standing up saying, like, Kevin, yeah, you're playing this game, but you're actually doing this to me.
All right.
You know, like he was standing up to Kevin to be like, you need to stand up for yourself too.
Right.
Because that's not how Kevin felt. Like he didn't want to.
No.
But I think Chiron standing up was like, you know, you got to face this one day too. And it was like, and so it was very upsetting. So then he hits him one last time and then everyone joins in and starts beating him up. And then a teacher comes and stops him.
And they run off before the teacher can get any of them.
And then Chiron's in the office and she's like, well, you need to press charges. And he's like, I can't press charges. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because he knows it'll be worse if he does.
And he tells this vice principal or whoever, administrator, whoever it is, like, you just don't understand. What does he say? He says something along those lines. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember exactly, but it was like, you don't get it.
Yeah, it was essentially that. And he's crying. He's very upset. And you can tell that he's pretty much broken. It's just, at this point, the way I understand it is like he lost his mother. He lost his only father figure. And now he's lost his only friend. Mm-hmm. Because what they did, no one can find out about them.
Yeah.
So they have to protect themselves by not being around each other, essentially. And then,
oh, okay, that's interesting.
Right, because that's what I was saying. It can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, but the reason Chiron kept standing up was he was also protecting them. Mm-hmm. You know, he was showing how tough he was, and there's probably a lot of things he was thinking about. But to me, when I was watching that part, I was thinking like, he's doing his part in protecting him. Mm-hmm. And he knows Kevin isn't doing it on purpose. He can see it in Kevin's face. He knows what they share together. Mm-hmm. Right? They know where they live.
Yeah. They
know what the score is. So Chiron is now hit rock bottom.
He goes home and his mom is laid out on the couch. This is the last time he talks to his mom.
That's right. Okay.
Before the next act. But he goes up to his mom and she's asleep on the couch and he puts a blanket on her. And then she wakes up and she's like, "You don't love me anymore." And everything. And he doesn't answer her or anything, and then the next day he walks up to school and like his, just like charging. He was on a mission. So he walks in late, comes up into the classroom that he was in previously and, grabs his chair and, hits, I think name was Terrell
it was
bully.
Terrell. Yeah.
He, hits him over top of the head and knocks him out. And then everyone pulls him back and then.
Yeah, it was totally WWE steel chair vibes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And it's a moment, he's going to do something, but like I thought he was just going to go stand up to him and be like, "I'm not afraid of you," but he just straight up hits him with the chair. Mm-hmm. And you don't care. You're like,
good.
You feel good about it until he's getting arrested and thrown in the back of the cop car.
Yeah.
Because like as a black man in our society, like once you have a criminal record, like it's pretty hard to come back from something like that. So, and then also Kevin sees him at that last minute and Kevin doesn't know what to think because he's like, "Well, I hit you. Why didn't you come after me?" And they look at each other in like kind of one of those long Twilight stares. You know, they're always staring at people in the Twilight movies.
Yes.
But, I think it was, again, my interpretation, my own personal interpretation is that he's saying like, "Look, see, I'm still protecting you." Mm-hmm. And we're still friends, you know? Mm-hmm. So then we have another blackout and it goes into the third act of the movie, the third story.
They take him away in the cop car and then it goes into the third act.
Yes, that's right.
And in this third act, you see he's now the drug dealer.
Yeah, and they purposefully make him look like Juan a lot, I think.
Yeah, they do.
Because that was his male role model. Mm-hmm. So he looks like him and now he's doing the same work that he was doing.
Yeah. And he got real buff.
Yeah. I think this dude, I haven't watched it yet, but there's a show about Mike Tyson on Hulu right now. And I think he plays Mike Tyson. And I'm like, that's a pretty good image of him. Like,
yeah. Well, I think I really liked how they like kind of added it to the plot. Like he doesn't sleep at night. And so instead he works out. Like he has a lot of stuff going on in his life. And so his way of getting out of it is to work out and to get all his frustrations out that way.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't have the beach anymore because he lives in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. There's no beach anywhere near Atlanta. I know I've been to Atlanta. You don't believe me, but I've been.
What do you mean I don't believe you?
I don't know.
I believe you. You lived in Georgia. It would be weird if you never went to Atlanta.
Yeah. I went on a midnight train. Mm-hmm.
Not a midnight train to Georgia.
So it's about a decade later. He goes by the name Black now. He wears a grill. He works out. Like, he's totally wearing a mask now because all these events in his life had led him to be like, I have to hide. I have to be in solitude. They don't show him being friends, but they do show him playing a joke on one of the dealers that's below him.
Yeah, he's counting his money and he's like, "You're off," and the guy's like, "Oh, I ain't off," and like he gets real freaked out.
Yeah, as you would.
Yeah, and he's like freaking out. He's like, "Hey, like your count's good." After he like freaks out for a little bit, he's like, "Your count's good. You gotta be able to deal with people fucking with you, because you'd rather people fuck with you here than out there."
Right. Yeah.
You gotta know when people are fucking with you.
So this is the sort of the save the cat moment, because this movie is really, it's 3 separate stories about the same people. And so this is his save the cat moment, like Juan had in the first part of the movie where they show him being nice to his dealers and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like trying to be nurturing to this guy in sort of a weird backwards way. But he's not wrong, you know. So then what happens?
Well, then you see him in the car, and it's just his kind of like daily life. He gets a call. He gets a call from his mom, and she's like, "You need to come see me. You haven't come see me in a long time. I need you to come. You need to come see me," and all this other stuff. And then a couple minutes later, he gets another call. And he's like, "Mom, I'm going to come see you tomorrow. I'm coming in tomorrow." And it's Kevin. Right.
Yeah. I forgot about that till you mentioned it. Yeah. So he talks to Kevin for a little bit, but he doesn't really know what to say. But then they show him, he says like, "Come down and visit me sometime."
Yeah. Like, let me know when you're coming in. I'll cook for you.
Yeah, that's right. He says he'll cook for him. But he goes to see his mom, and his mom is in some sort of hospital recovery.
She's in a rehab center, but she said that he was like, "I thought you were done with this." And she goes, "Yeah, I am done. They let me stay here and help other people."
Right, because she says she has nothing to go back to.
Yeah.
So they show that she's made, I guess, a full recovery. But now she's able to be a better mother to him, but it's way too late.
Yeah.
But it also illustrates, it's like, yeah, this is what happens when good people get onto drugs.
Yeah.
Like when you become a full-blown addict, your whole life is about supporting your addiction.
It takes precedent over everything in your life.
Yeah. So they give the mother a redemption, and they sort of get into it, and they're able to speak emotionally, and he even cries a little bit.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, maybe their relationship is on the mend.
Yeah.
But we don't stick with them too long, because then he drives down to Miami.
And he goes to Kevin's restaurant.
Yes. He goes to the diner that he works at. This guy, he doesn't own a restaurant.
Yeah. He just cooks at it.
Yeah, he just cooks at it.
Waits.
And you find out that he went to prison, and he got into cooking because they put him in the kitchen there in prison. Did they say what he went in for?
No.
I don't think they did, but it's really not that important.
I think he just says the same things we always did. I don't know what that means, though.
Yeah.
I think it was drug related.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. He does say something along those lines.
But he comes in, and Kevin like recognizes him, and then he just kind of like, they just start talking.
Yeah, Kevin talks about how he was with somebody for a while, and they have a child together.
Yeah, Kevin says he's with Samantha, and they have a kid. But in that moment, I was like, well, why did you call him? I didn't understand why he would call him after all these years if he was married or with a girl and had a kid with them.
I think he just called him because their relationship ended on such a dissonant tone.
Yeah.
There was no finality to it, and there's probably a lot of things that they needed to say to each other. Because even at the end of the movie, it doesn't say that they're together.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, that was my last question. I was like, is he still with Samantha? And then by the end of it, I said, I guess not. After he eats at the restaurant, like they kind of talk a little bit. Chiron asks, like, why did you call me? And Kevin was like, well, I heard a song. I told you that. And he goes, but why did you call me? And he doesn't really explain, or I don't remember if Kevin did explain.
No. The dialogue in this is very naturalistic. So sometimes it's just somebody will say something, but they don't get a straight answer.
There's a lot of subtext in this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
So then he's like, okay, well, let me take you home. Chiron says, let me take you home. Kevin doesn't have a car. And he's like, yeah, I let Samantha use it, and she lets me use it sometimes when I have the kid. And he goes, he asks them where you're staying. And then he doesn't say anything. He just turns the radio up and they start smiling.
Right. Yeah. They're starting to let their guards down a little bit.
And you can see that they still have chemistry together.
Yes. And it's very reminiscent of their scene on the beach where they're like getting into it and talking. Like, so they're joking with each other and laughing, and they get back to his apartment. And what does he make, some tea or something like that?
Yeah, he makes some tea. And he goes, do you, well, because at the restaurant, he goes, you're going to have a drink with me. And he goes, oh, I don't drink. And he gives him one. He's like, you're going to drink with me because I haven't seen you in 9
years. You're going to drink with me.
Yeah. So he gets him, they go to his apartment. And he's like, I'm feeling, I got a headache. And he goes, oh, let me fix you some tea. And he's like, I don't drink tea. He goes, what do you drink? And he goes, water.
Yeah. And this is the part where Kevin really starts to push him and say, like, who are you? And he's like, oh, well, I'm just me. He's like, who is this guy? Who is black? And he doesn't have to push him for very long, surprisingly.
Well, also, like, that's what Kevin called him when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Kevin would call him black, and he's like, why do you call me black?
Yeah. So he took that from Kevin. And also it says, on his license plate of his car, it says Black 305. And 305 is the Miami area code.
Oh.
Yeah. But he doesn't really have to push him all that much.
No.
He just lets his guard down and he says, you're the only man that's ever touched me.
Yeah. And he's also said, like, I haven't been with anyone, a man or woman. You were the last person to ever touch me. And then it cuts to them in his bedroom, and
yeah, like they embrace, and like that's pretty much the end of the movie. And what I really love about this movie is how the end of each one is so open ended, and it lets your mind really go wild, like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I really think the important part of this, the way they ended this, is like, yeah, this guy can start to heal a little bit.
Yeah. Because
now his mom is off drugs, and now he has at least a friend.
Yeah.
That could be together at some point, but
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. It never really says what Kevin is.
Which I think is fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. He could just be like a pansexual. So that'll do it for the movie. Aaron, I want to ask you, what is your no bullshit assessment of this movie?
This was a fantastic movie. I would watch this multiple times throughout the year. It was a really great movie. I loved it. I connected with it. I was empathetic towards the characters. The characters were very realistic. It's shot so beautifully. Like, I visually was so intrigued by this movie. It was a great movie. I loved it. Absolutely would recommend it to anyone, because it's a really great movie.
Yes, I too would recommend this movie to anyone, because it's about a story that maybe people wouldn't know about, like what it's like for people growing up in areas of the country like that. But also, it's so relatable.
Yeah.
Even if I've never experienced anything near what these people.
Yeah.
And being a white middle class kid, but I can relate to every single one of them. It's very easy to put yourself in these characters' shoes, and it's good for that reason. This movie makes you feel a lot.
Yeah, and it opens up your empathy, which I think is great.
Yeah, it really does. Anything else you want to say about it?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
I loved the movie. Love it.
Okay, well, we didn't prepare a segment, so I want to show you the video
Oh my god.
of them mixing up, and I want to get your take on this too.
Okay.
Because it makes me pretty angry. It
Okay.
makes me pretty angry.
The Academy Award.
See, he's confused right now.
For Best Picture.
Because the card looks weird, so he doesn't.
La La Land.
You see how he looked at it and then didn't know what to say? You'll see why in a minute.
Winning 7 Oscars, production design, cinematography, original score, song, directing, actress, and best picture.
If they had won this that night, they would have like swept. This would have been one of the biggest winning movies ever.
I actually have never seen La La Land, so
Thank you to the Academy. Thank you to Lionsgate. Thank you to our incredible cast and crew who are all up here right now. Thank you to Jamie Feldman, to Gary Gilbert. Thank you to my parents for supporting my choice to pursue a career in the arts, even though it was a little bit crazy. Arthur Horowitz, you are my fantasy baby.
The whole cast is up there right now.
Generous, talented, beautiful, blue-eyed wife and creative partner, Julia Hart. Whew. You have inspired me to become the man I am right now, and more importantly, the man I'm still becoming. There's a lot of love in this room, and let's use it to create and champion bold and diverse work that inspires us towards joy, towards hope, and towards empathy.
Here's to the fools who made me dream, my uncle Gary Platt, my mentor Sam Cohn, my parents, my children, my wife Julie, on whose shoulders I've stood for 40 years because she insisted I reach for the stars, and to the Hollywood community that I'm so proud to be a part of, and to the Hollywood in the hearts and minds of people everywhere. Repression is the enemy of civilization. So keep dreaming, because the dreams we dream today will provide the love, the compassion, and the humanity that will narrate the stories of our lives tomorrow. Right?
It's the love of my life, Allie Loy. I'm here with you. I love you so much. It's my family memo. Bye-bye, Jeff.
Have you ever watched the Oscars before?
no.
This is a very typical Oscar acceptance until this moment.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
How did they mistake that?
I'll explain in a little bit.
What? I think you should keep it anyways.
Jimmy Kimmel making another bad joke.
Very unfortunate what happened. Personally, I blame Steve Harvey for this. I would like to see you get an Oscar anyway. Why can't we just give out a whole bunch of them?
I'm going to be really proud to hand this to my friends from Moonlight.
That's nice of you.
That La La Land, he handled it really well, I thought.
Yes. I think I would have handled it the same way. Like, that's not okay. No. This goes to them. They deserve it.
Yeah.
Like, that was very good on him.
Warren, what did you do?
I want to tell you what happened. I opened the envelope, and it said, Emma Stone, La La Land. That's why I took such a long look at Faye and at you. I wasn't trying to be funny.
Well, you were funny.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Was Jimmy Kimmel the host?
I think he was.
Gross.
And I think he said, I blame Steve Harvey because Steve Harvey had just read the results for like Miss America wrong, like the year before,
Oh, I don't know.
which is weird.
Very clearly, very clearly, even in my dreams, this could not be true.
That's the director.
If this is true, oh my goodness.
Thank you.
And I have to say, and it is true, it's not fake. We've been on the road with these guys for so long, and that was so gracious and so generous of them. My love to La La Land, my love to everybody. Man.
Thank you to the. I don't know what to say. That was really.
Who is she?
She's the producer, I think.
Okay.
And it is so humbling to be standing up here with hopefully still the La La crew. No, okay, they're gone. But it's very humbling to be up here. And I think, I hope even more than that, that it's.
Those little boys look so cute.
Little black boys and brown girls and other folks watching at home who feel marginalized and who take some inspiration from seeing this beautiful group of artists helmed by this amazing talent like when Barry Jenkins standing up here on the stage accepting this top honor.
There was a time when I thought this movie was impossible because I couldn't bring it to fruition. I couldn't bring myself to tell another story. So everybody behind me on the stage said, no, that's not acceptable. So I just want to thank everybody up here behind me, everybody out there in that room, because we didn't do this. You guys chose us. Thank you for the choice. I appreciate it. Much love.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't know what happened. I blame myself for this. Let's remember, it's just an award show. I mean, we hate to see people disappointed.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel, we don't need to hear what you have to say.
Oh my God.
Yeah, what did you think about that?
Like when the guy that was like trying to read it and it said Emma Stone, he should have been like, this shouldn't have a name. And
Right.
it should have immediately been like, hey, this doesn't look right. Why? What's the lady that grabbed him was like, it says La La Land. Like,
Yeah, those are two famous actors. I guess maybe they're getting up there in age. But what happened was there's an accounting firm that handles tallying all who's going to win and putting them in envelopes, and they had a mix up. It said Emma Stone because that was the envelope for
Best Actress.
Yes, Best Actress, which she won. Right, so they said La La Land, but it was a mistake. I mean, you guess you can't really blame anybody but that accounting firm, but it totally ruined the moment for Moonlight because they go up there and they have to feel bad that La La Land just got booted off the stage and told, oh, you're not actually the winner.
yeah.
So they never really got to have their moment.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It's just sad. And it's a really bad look for the Oscars.
Yeah. I don't ever really watch awards. I don't even watch like the Tonys.
No, award shows are not fun.
Yeah, I don't ever watch award shows. If I do, it's just to watch the numbers.
Yeah, but honestly, I can't think of another award show that has fallen from grace so much than the Oscars. They have so many controversies now, and it's dumb stuff like this.
Oh, I
like
wouldn't know.
They used to have like controversies that were like, yeah, they did the right thing, and but was the Will Smith Chris Rock slap? Wasn't that at the Academy Awards?
I have no idea.
I think it was. Like stuff like that just keeps happening.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to show you that because it sucked.
Yeah, that does suck. It really sucks for the cast and crew and production team for Moonlight because, God, yes, they got the award, but what a horrible way to go about it. Like you took like the speech, like he was like, I don't even know like how I can continue this.
Because they can't stop thinking about how bad they feel for the La La Land people.
Yeah.
It's very obvious. And then also it's just the fact that black artists and black creators, it took them so many years to get a spot at the Oscars and at the Academy Awards. And like, why is this stuff happening to them now?
Yeah.
Right? This isn't happening to white people, It really makes you think about that too.
Yeah.
So I chose a really bad way to end this episode, but
well, sometimes life's bad.
Yeah, we normally like to make a lot of jokes and goof off during the show, but this movie is just a little bit too dramatic. There was no...
It's too serious.
It was so serious, and it's about a serious subject matter.
And I would feel horribly wrong for making fun of this movie, and I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
The movie is a really beautiful movie, and like making fun of it or like doing jokes with it it just seems bad taste.
Yeah.
Because it's such a beautiful movie. Like
it's a beautiful movie. It really is.
I can't find any flaws with the movie.
No,
either.
and there's no levity in it really either, or very little. So that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we are going to be doing what?
We're going to be watching The Color Purple next week.
Yes. Next month is Black History Month, so we want to do something that pertains to Black history.
Yeah. I'm excited because I've heard some of the songs from the musical version, but I've never seen the actual movie of it. I've never read the book, but I've heard some of the songs. Some of the songs are so beautiful.
There's not going to be any songs in this movie.
I know though, but I want to know the story because I've heard some of the songs. I'm like, what is the story? I really want to know it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in many years, so I was a child when I saw it. I think maybe when it was first out on video.
Doesn't this have Oprah Winfrey in it?
Yes, Oprah's in it. Danny Glover's in it, and that's all I can remember. But I saw it when I was a little kid, and it made an impression on me, but I don't remember anything about it. So it's going to be very interesting to get to watch it again.
I'm excited.
Yeah. You can email us and tell us all the racist things we said on this episode at joeyanderinpod@gmail.com. Try to be nice to us.
I don't know why you keep saying that we say racist things. I don't
No,
think
I'm
that
not
we
saying
say
that we-
racist things.
No, it's just the subject matter. I'm sure we maybe put our foot in our mouths at some point.
Okay.
But look, the reason I say all this and you don't understand is you don't really listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and people are constantly writing in angry stuff to podcasts.
Okay.
Like people write into Doughboys. They just review chain restaurants, and people will write them angry emails.
Yeah.
So I want somebody to write us an angry email.
Have we had any emails?
No, we haven't. Please just email
Have you
us.
checked?
Yeah.
Today?
No, wait, hold on.
Check right now, mother trucker.
This is the worst ending to any podcast.
Cricket, cricket, cricket.
Oh, look at that. We have an email about our last episode.
What does it say?
Hey there, have-nots. I remember this movie making more sense when I saw it on basic cable.
We're talking about Demolition Man.
Yes. So I thought the reason the thermal scan didn't show the hostage was because they were already dead.
Oh.
Yeah, dead bodies don't have any heat. That's pretty smart. Do you know any other movies that have a stand-up routine right in the middle for no reason? Was someone working on this thing a Dennis Leary superfan? That's right. Dennis Leary has that rant underground. You remember that?
No.
I want to cover myself in green jelly and walk down the street naked while I'm eating barbecue ribs. You
What?
I'll show it to you again, but
I don't remember that.
Dennis Leary was really popular at that time.
Okay.
And he had this like rant style of comedy that I wasn't really into, but he would go on these, tirades like that. It was
there's definitely other movies like that.
Yeah, of course there is.
I can't think of any.
I know there's another movie where they just have somebody do their stand up in there. Maybe like a Rodney Dangerfield movie or something.
I don't know that. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
That's interesting though. Like maybe they were dead.
Yeah. And thank you for writing in, Robert Hundemer.
Cool.
It was great to hear from you.
Wonderful. We'd love to hear from you other guys too.
Yeah. Anybody? Also, we movie suggestions. If you guys want to write in about movie suggestions, and even if we don't cover it, we'll talk about it a little bit
Yeah.
then you write into us and we can chat about what that movie means to us a little bit.
I did have someone message me that I know, and they messaged me about what's that movie with
John Carpenter's The Thing.
The Thing. Yeah, it's like in the Antarctic.
Yeah.
They suggested that we watch that movie, but I have actually seen that movie. So.
Yeah, we watched that movie. I love that movie, so I made you watch it.
Yeah, so maybe next time on our next episode, we can talk a little bit about what our thoughts are on The Thing.
Yeah, we totally could.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. This has been
You Haven't Seen It?
Bye-bye.